Hello and welcome to a very sleepy and probably pretty short episode of the Nice Knit podcast. I am very sensitive to coffee caffeine. Like I can handle other caffeine except for coffee. Like I cannot have caffeinated coffee. And sometimes I forget that because it's been so long since I've had non-decaf coffee. And I had it yesterday. I kind of forgot how it impacts me. Anyways, I did not get to sleep until the sun rose this morning and I only got a couple of hours. So I am very tired, but I'm tired and excited to share with you some socks that I have finished and like a couple of projects that I want to cast on to very soon. So I'm going to make this episode because I want to, but just know it's sleepy. It's going to be a little low energy, but we're going to get through it. So let's just dive right in. So I want to start with my first non-sock project. Everything else that we're going to talk about today is brought to you by Sox, but I do have one project that I have finished, and it is this. It is just a washcloth that I want to share with you. So I am calling this my anxiety washcloth because I was having some really bad anxiety like last week, and I just needed a project that was like a little bit more engaging to my brain, like something I hadn't done in a long time that I like could start and finish pretty quickly. Like it wasn't a whole project. I didn't even have to finish it if I didn't want to, but it would like occupy that part of my brain that was being really anxious. And like it wasn't for any particular reason. I was just anxious. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to knit a washcloth and I am going to knit it in seed stitch, which is just like the knit purl back and forth where, when you're on the, like, this is going to be a really poor explanation, but when you're on, like, as you go one way, you are knitting the purls and purling the knits back and forth as you like work back and forth. But yeah, this is seed stitch. I am using a 100% cotton yarn. I have no idea what brand this yarn is. I'm pretty sure I picked this up from Goodwill in like a bag of yarn, and it's probably one of the like main common brands of yarn, of specifically cotton yarn, that you could pick up at like a Joann's or a Michael's. So it's nothing special, but it is just a pretty yellow cotton yarn knit entirely in seed stitch. I tried to make it square. I have not blocked it. I'm not going to do a traditional blocking. I'm literally just going to use this in my kitchen. So I'm going to use it just as a washcloth, and then I'm going to throw it in the washer and dryer as per usual. I try not to dry these, but I often forget to take them out of the dryer. So they often end up in the dryer. But for something like this, there's no sentimental value. I'm okay if it gets thin over the years. I don't really have an issue with drying it. So yeah, that's my first finished project. I actually started working it about a week ago, but I bound off today. And I'm calling it my anxiety washcloth because I cast onto it because I had anxiety, and then I kind of kept working on it every time I was feeling a little bit more anxiety. I've been a little anxious lately for many reasons, but also for no reason at all sometimes. So anxiety washcloth, 10 out of 10 would recommend knitting a washcloth with a stitch that you're not super familiar with when you have anxiety. It worked for me. It may work for you. But what I really wanted to talk about today was socks. I have been, like, my sock mojo is in full gear. Like I've been crushing the sock mojo. I finished these socks, and you did see these in the last episode of the podcast. This was knit and crochet. I think it was like Carnival Splash Stripe was the sock yarn that I used for this. I did block these. So the only thing that's happened between the last podcast episode and this one is these are now blocked. I still have not woven in the ends, but I am going to do that once I get this video published and up, and then I'll be able to wear these. But more exciting than getting these blocked is I finally finished my March socks. So these are the socks that I started way back in March of 2025, so March of this year, and I wanted to finish them in March. It is now the end of July, but I have finished them. So This is just the One Sock by Kate Atherley. This is the pattern that I've knit the most. This is the first time I've knit a pattern that's not the One Sock by Kate Atherley. So these are the Soxploration Shadow Wrap Heel by, I believe, Denise DeSantis is the designer's name. And the reason that I struggled to knit these socks was because of the small needle size. And one of you lovely viewers pointed out that Peyton's Croy is actually a like heavy fingering weight yarn, and the Soxploration Shadow Wrap Heel pattern is using like a lighter fingering weight yarn. And I'm a pretty tight knitter, which is why I was struggling with a size 1 needle using Peyton's Croy sock yarn, because it was really tight, because it was meant to be a light fingering weight project, and I was using a heavy fingering weight yarn and knitting very tightly. So if I knit this pattern again, which I will knit it in a like 1.5 US. I don't know if I said 1 millimeter earlier. I meant size 1 if I said it any different. I will knit it in a size 1.5, and I'm not sure what the millimeters are for that. I apologize. Maybe it's a 2.5. I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll just throw it below for you. But again, really sleepy. I guess, so what I'm knitting these other socks in is undetermined. Let's see. So these are a 2.75. So maybe it was a 2.25. I think I knit these in a 2.25 millimeter, and I would prefer to knit them in like a 2.5 millimeter. I don't know. Editing Laramie can do some magic here and tell you exactly what you need to do. That was the only thing that was holding me back from finishing this project. The pattern itself is beautifully written. I really enjoyed following it. The explanations were like very intuitive. I understood exactly what she was asking. She included videos in the pattern. I only needed to watch one of them, and that was for the toe. And I really enjoyed following it. Like, it was a really comfortable YouTube video to follow, and it actually changed the way that I view Kitchener stitch, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I have done a couple of things here that I've never done before on a sock. So one, I did a 2x2 ribbed cuff, which is new to me, and I really like the way that it looks, so that may be something that I incorporate more often in future sock knitting. This type of heel, this is one where you do a double, or yeah, I think it's called a double stitch and a triplet stitch, or a twin stitch. That's the word. A twin stitch and a triplet stitch. But it was challenging because it was a new sock construction to me, but it was pretty intuitive. And once I figured out how to do the double stitches, or the twin stitches and the triplet stitches, and I could do it without having to check the pattern every time, it went really quickly. Like, it was a very fast heel. It was much faster than your like traditional heel flap and gusset, at least for me. I still really like this heel construction style, and this is the one that I'm using for the next pair of socks that I'm knitting, but I will be doing this heel again, and I have plans to learn some other heels. And then the toe, I was actually more intimidated by. If you have seen some of my older videos, specifically the one where I was talking about trying to make my sister a headband for Christmas, and I will link it up above and below. I have historically struggled with Kitchener stitch. I believe I was pulling too tightly as I was doing Kitchener stitch. Like, I was thinking about it as sewing and not as an extension of the knitting. And so therefore it was too tight, and then when it would need to stretch, it would just break the yarn. But I followed, so this was like and I don't know what this toe is specifically called, but it uses like you do decreases all through here on both sides of the sock, and then you Kitchener stitch this toe section here. And I followed Denise's video on YouTube. I don't know if it's one you can access just without using the pattern, or if it's one that like is available on all YouTube. If it's available to everyone and not just to those that have purchased the pattern, I will link that video below. But I followed how she did the Kitchener stitch here, and I learned two things. I learned one, that I really, really like it, and now that and then the other thing was, now that I understand how to do an Italian bind off, it made understanding Kitchener stitch so much easier. Italian bind off is essentially a Kitchener stitch with just one, like one side of knitting. So if you're doing an Italian bind off, you're doing it here, or if you're doing Kitchener stitch, you're like attaching two sides of knitting to one another, if that makes any sense. But now that I can do the Italian bind off really comfortably, and I'm not like overly pulling tight, and I'm not struggling with that, and with the help of that YouTube video, I was really, like, I actually really enjoyed the process of doing this particular toe. I don't know how much you can see here, just based on, like, I'm using the back camera on my iPhone, so I don't know how clear that is going to be to you, but you can kind of see the stitches here at the toe that I Kitchenered together. So I wonder next time if I could pull just a little bit tighter and make that more of an extension of the already existing knitting, but I would rather have looser stitches there than overly tight and not being able to stretch and potentially break the yarn. So I'm very happy with how these turned out. I matched the like color pattern, so they're almost identical socks. I have worn these a couple of times already, and they are incredibly comfortable. Big fan of the toe. The heel is different feeling than the like heel flap and gusset heel, but not in a bad way. Like it just, like I could feel that it was different, but then after wearing them for just a few minutes, I got used to it and it wasn't a problem. So this worked out really well. I'm very pleased with the way these socks turned out. And the more socks that I knit, the more that I want to knit socks. It's kind of become addicting. This is Peyton's Croy. I believe it is mid-century stripes. I think that is the colorway. This is what it looks like when it's all balled up in some very loose, falling apart balls of yarn. I knit them 2 at a time on separate needles. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah. I'm also knitting another pair of socks. So that's my finished projects. I am knitting a pair of socks. This is in Knit and Crochet, and this is the, let's see, Dragon Fruit Splash Stripe. I did show you this on the last podcast episode if you happen to see it, but I've gotten a little farther. I've gotten the heel flap completely done on one sock. I'm working through it on the next sock, and then the gusset will be next, and then the foot, and then the toe, and I may do this toe. I may get a little crazy and I may do that toe, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm really enjoying sock knitting. I'm really excited I'm just excited to cast onto another pair of socks. Like I just want to keep casting onto another pair of socks, but I'm actually making progress finishing them. So something I wanted to show you, and I'm getting more energy as we do this video. This is the good caffeine. This is the kind of caffeine I need in my life. The caffeine that doesn't keep me up until 5 a.m. But this is, like, I wanted to show you all the socks that I've knitted. So these are my March socks, so most recently finished. Second most recent, I think I'm just calling these my July socks. You know, really, really good at naming things. These are, actually, I bet you these are my February socks. These are my February socks. Yes, February socks. My March socks got frogged because it was too heavy of a yarn and too light of a needle, and I was only knitting it one at a time, and I just decided I wasn't interested in finishing it. So those are my February socks, and then you've got my July socks, and then you've got my January socks. So these are Knit and Crochet, and I'm not entirely sure what the stock yarn was, but they were quite wild. It's quite wild stock yarn, but I really liked it. But it's another Knit and Crochet, so an old Joann's brand. And then also, this is the One Sock by Kate Atherley. And then my very first pair of socks, also the One Sock by Kate Atherley, and this is Peyton's Croy. I could not tell you the sock yarn color off the top of my head. If I can find it online or can find the label, I will put it in the description box below along with whatever color this is. I still have this yarn and I still have the label, so I can get that for you. But yeah, I've knitted so far. I've completed 4 pairs of socks, and I am on my way to completing my 5th pair of socks. I don't know if I'll make it to the 12 socks by the end of the year that I had originally planned on doing at the beginning of 2025, but like I made some substantial progress. Technically, I've only knit 4 this year, so I still would have to knit 8 pairs of socks. So we'll see. We'll see. But the last thing that I wanted to leave you with is I did, in my sock knitting obsession, I did pick up some books. So I just did a Google search and I looked at Reddit of all places, and I was just like, what is the best sock knitting book? Like what do sock knitters recommend as a good book to get for somebody who is just getting into knitting socks? And there was 2 recommendations, and they were getting about even praise, and for different reasons. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the different reasons were, but I ended up just getting both of them because who needs self-control, right? But I'm glad I did. After looking through both of them, they do offer different things, but I think they're both going to be very useful and inspirational. So the first one is The Sock Project, Colorful Cool Socks to Knit and Show Off by Summer Lee. I am mostly excited to use this particular book because it's got 25 patterns in it, and it's sorted by like cables, if you want color work. There's also, let's see, I think this one's socks with knits, purls, and slip stitches, thick socks, striped socks, ribbed socks, socks with fades. So it's got a lot of different options. So I'm really excited to look through this. I'm using this as inspiration, and I really want to knit some, like this is weird maybe, but I'm really excited to have enough scrap yarn from sock knitting to knit a set of like really scrappy, wild socks. Like I'm really excited to knit some scrap yarn socks. And like that's part of the motivation of finishing all of these like socks that are not scrap yarn socks, because I want enough scrap yarn that I can knit like a scrappy sock set. Like I don't know if that's weird, but I'm very excited by it. But I am excited to do this. It also has patterns with 5 different heels, cuff down, toe up, and it has the 2 needle socks that are knit flat, I believe. So I'm excited for this big source of inspiration, excited for those patterns. And I also got the Sock Knitting Bible. The Sock Knitting Bible is by Lynn Rowe. This one was really highly spoken of, specifically for the techniques and the way that she talks through the techniques. And I can concur. I have referenced this several times already for different sock techniques. And I've also like bookmarked a few in the effort to try to learn about different toe and heel constructions. And I realized just by flipping through this book, I've only had it for a couple of days, but I realized that I'm actually knitting, when I knit the Kate Atherley 1 sock, it's not a common heel. It is actually a slip stitch heel with a heel flap and gusset. And you're doing a slip stitch that makes it that like squishy pattern. I don't know, you can maybe see it better on this set where you've got, it's like you can see the ridges here. It's not just a regular garter stitch or a stockinette stitch. I did not realize that. I did not know you could just do stockinette stitch if you wanted, or you could do like a garter stitch heel. It also has like a striped 2-color heel, and then it shows like simple shaped heel, double short row heel, and then wrap and turn short row heel. And then there's like a forethought heel, and then it talks about the different toes. And then of course, like it talks about different techniques. You've got some beautiful patterns in here. I really love these, though I'm very intimidated by cables. One of these days, I can feel myself getting closer to knitting cables, but not yet. Right now, we're in our like learning heels, toes, and colorwork era. I think cable era will come later. Maybe that'll be a good winter break project for like when I'm out of school. I've got like a month off from school between semesters. That might be what I work on. But yeah, that is, I just wanted to show you socks. Also, I don't know why this excites me so much, but these socks look great with this sweater because of that one stripe. This, by the way, if you're new here and you haven't seen, this is my Gulf side tee that is, I don't know if self-drafted is the right word. I think improvised might be a better word. I didn't follow a pattern, but I referenced some patterns for like different elements of this t-shirt, but I have now blocked it. And I was correct in my assumptions that I made in the last podcast episode. It did not change. Like blocking it did not change the way that it fit at all. I definitely feel that it's crisper than it was before I blocked it, but I think it just returned to its normal like crispiness or like structure. Cotton tends to stretch as you wear it, especially down, and especially this kind of yarn because it's a thicker yarn, so it's it's heavier. And I feel like just blocking it helped it spring back to its position before, but I don't feel like it's changed at all. Like I don't think it needed to be blocked before wearing. Like it's not like wool where blocking makes significant changes. Like I don't think the size changed at all. I don't think the fit changed at all, but I'm very happy with it. And this combination is bringing me some serotonin. But all right, I am going to go maybe take a nap, maybe weave in some ends, maybe knit some socks, maybe cast on some new socks, maybe edit a video. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please consider giving it a like. Thank you to all of you who are new subscribers. You have, like, watching the subscriber count go up the last couple of days has given me a ridiculous amount of joy, a little bit of imposter syndrome, but mostly just like really a lot of gratitude to you all, like giving me comments and advice and telling me what patterns that you like. And this is what I wanted. Like I have created just a very small knitting community on here, and it brings me just a ridiculous amount of joy. So thank you to those of you who have subscribed recently or have been here since the beginning. If you would like to hang out more, it does help if you subscribe, because then you will be more likely to see my videos, but it also gives me a little boost of serotonin every time that I see that there's a new subscriber. If you are a sock knitter or if you have never knit socks, please consider leaving me a comment below as well, telling me like what kind of socks you would like to knit, or if you're intimidated by socks, or if there's a sock pattern you swear by. I don't know, give me all the good sock thoughts. What are your sock thoughts? Do you like socks? Do you like wearing knitted socks? Give me all the good stuff. But I'm going to let you go. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!